Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's 11 sharp. My name is Ewa Bańkowska. I work for Microfinance Centre, and as you can see, I'm working from home as most of the MFC staff. MFC office is based in Poland, and we have a state of pandemic here in Poland related to coronavirus. Those of you who have been with us for the last few minutes had the chance to answer a short poll about the state of the situation related to coronavirus in your country. So let me just show you the results. It sounds that all of us who are gathered today here are coming from countries where there is something happening. There is a situation complicated. So as I said, in Poland, everything is closed, the schools are closed, there are only groceries and pharmacies open. We are all working from home, or we are all on holidays. And everybody, actually nobody knows what to expect, what's next. I just want to ask, how is it going with in your country? So if some of you would like to unmute and share the situation, let us know. Also, let us know how is it going with microfinance business. Are your clients affected? Like, what's the situation in the sector? Feel free to unmute. Or Lauren, do you want to start? Do you want to share a few things? How is it in the UK?
In the UK, we've started working from home as of today, but all of the schools are still open. The universities are closing slowly and stopping lectures. All exams and assessments are still going ahead for those. All the shops are open as normal at the moment, but we're being advised to just stay indoors as much as possible.
Okay. Okay, so not as bad as in Poland, but
not yet.
Not yet. How does it look like in other countries? Maria,
in Romania, the schools are closed until Easter. The universities, all the major shops or the major this type of malls are closing down. They're only the pharmacies and grocery shops are open. For the children, the national TV start forecasting the lessons. Each day they have the school on the TV.
That's interesting.
Yeah, especially for those which are in the final year of their the 8th class and the 12th class of the high school. Yeah, and the schools are organizing on Skype to deliver the lessons for the smaller children as well. So far is not. The businesses are some of the businesses are open. Everybody who can do it, it's working from home, including me and my colleagues. But it's getting more and more serious because we saw on TV some studies, some forecasts. So it's not going, at least according to this forecast, it's not going to be over until June or July. And even there are 3 scenarios. The worst one is that we will the peak will be in June. So it's just March until June. We'll stay home all. So what my colleagues from the cars asked me to study a little bit what the other are doing and issue a type of list of recommendations. So I send them, and I mention they start applying some of the recommendations for this period. Most of them are related to the protection of the employees and of the customers. There is a problem because in the small in the small villages where the cars have their offices, everything is on cash. So they are more or less are persuading everyone to use a card and pay via from home via internet banking. So right now they can see that these efforts will pay off. The second part is the risk management. What they have to, the recommendation is that they have to revise the risk matrix and budget all those activities and amend the budget. So release funds to finance these prevention activities. And the third one is to communicate properly. So they are right now assessing the impact of providing everyone who is affected by this pandemic medical emergency, a grace period, reschedule of the loans, try to communicate and convey the message correctly to them, what type of facilities they plan to offer them and how to access them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Maria. Thanks for the update also. I was just wondering if anybody else from another country wants to share the situation in the microfinance sector, especially with the clients, or how the virus affects the business. Let me just see if anybody else wants to share before we move on to actually our proper presentation. Okay.
My name is Alma Zukic. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, president of Microfinance institution. Since I was in Romania for the last few days now, I'm at home next 14 days. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the children have online school, and most of the company working from home. Also, we set some measures and said to our members how to deal in these days. So that's all.
Okay. Thanks, Emma, for sharing. Let me just say that that's what Kinga from MFC wrote in the chat box. MFC is planning to organize a webinar which will aim on sharing the experience and measures and practices that MFIs take in this current situation to tackle it. So if you are interested to share your experience and to learn from others, please contact Kinga. Kinga, if you can type in your email address, that would be wonderful.
Of course.
So as MFC, we are planning to organize this webinar so that we can also share practices in this difficult situation. So Kinga typed into the chat box her email address. So if you are interested to share, to contribute, and to learn more, just feel free to get in touch with her through email.
Of course.
Oh,
I will be very glad.
Yeah, thanks, Elma, again for sharing. And right, so anyway, the life moves online, so our digital bootcamp is kind of well placed to tackle the situation as well. So today we are talking about using social media by MFIs. There has been a lot going on here. There were many questions. I know that many practitioners were wondering how to do it best. So today, Lauren from BCRS in UK is sharing with us their experience in managing social media. So Lauren, welcome now officially, and thank you for the time and contribution. As you can see, Lauren is also working from home, as she shared in the beginning of the webinar. Let me just say that this digital bootcamp is possible thanks to co-financing by the European Union program for employment and social innovation called EASY, as well as due to kind contribution of our members like BCRS, like Crystal, like OpenCBS and BFC. We are continuing with webinars regularly. In the coming weeks, we are talking about customer digital behavior, so how people behave online and what was the evolution. I would like to refer you now to our webpage where you can find exact times, dates, and also registration links. So feel free to register through our webpage. And without further delays, let me turn to Lauren, who is responsible in BCRS for managing social media. She's involved in this on daily basis. And before she starts, let me just let me ask you to vote once again. Let's see what's the experience in our online room. So in other words, if you can answer those questions, which of the social media do you use on a regular basis in your MFI? Meaning Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Viber, or any other, and also which of the tools like video or blog posts or graphic have you been using in the last quarter? So let's see first what's the experience in the room. And take time to vote now. 50% of us have voted. Let's just wait a few more seconds. And also, as you are voting, let me just remind you that as we go, feel free to ask your questions. Lauren's presentation is very practical. There are a lot of examples and cases, so feel free to ask specific questions using chat box or simply unmuting yourself. Okay, we have more than 60 of us have, okay, some people are still voting. So let me just give you a few seconds. Okay, sounds like we have 70% of us have voted. So let me share with you the results. Okay, so what hopefully you can see on your screen is that actually 90% of us gathered here use Facebook, only 11% Twitter, Instagram, that's 60%, LinkedIn more than 50%, and other channels that 16%. Can you type into the chat box what type of other social media platforms do you use? Let's just see what are those other platforms. And then in terms of the kind of tools, almost 40% of us gathered here use blog posts, which is interesting. Half of us video posts, and like almost 60% graphic design other than advertisement of your product or service. That sounds quite interesting, but like Facebook is most popular, and then I'm positively surprised that quite a few of you use also video posts. Okay, so that's the situation. Lauren, now back to you and to your presentation. So let's hear from you.
Okay, so as has already been said, I'm Lauren and I'm the digital marketing assistant for BCRS. I've been doing it for just under a year now, which seems to be a long time. So I'm just going to start with the agenda for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about BCRS and what we do, and then the social media platforms that we use, along with the social media advertising, and then move on to videos and blogs with a few examples along the way. So in terms of BCRS, this is just our vision and mission. We stick quite close to our vision and mission because it shapes who we are as a business. And it just keeps us to the forefront of why we're here and why we do what we do. So you can see here the map of where we actually cover in the West Midlands in the UK at the moment. And we are here when small businesses can't get access to finance from traditional lenders like banks. So we're the middleman that they come to when the banks can't help them for whatever reason that may be. To date, we have lent 54 million and to 1,520 business, and we've created over 10,000 jobs with this. We are currently on track to beat our lending record for the year. So that will be our best year ever in lending so far, which is amazing. So in terms of the social media platforms we use LinkedIn and Twitter. I know a lot of you use Facebook. At the moment, that isn't on our list of uses for social media, but that doesn't mean it won't come in the future. In the meantime of setting up social media, we found LinkedIn and Twitter to be the best options, and I'll move on to tell you why. So I'll move on to social media content first before I get into the individual social media platforms, because the content covers a wide range of each platform. So it doesn't matter which platform you're on, you can use all of this content for each one. So customer testimonials are really important. People like to see customers and they like to know what people think. So if you have a Trustpilot page, post your reviews on social media as much as you can, or even TripAdvisor, any review page that you have for your website, use it. And then even customer case studies come in well. So if we have a recent customer, we'll ring them up, ask them if we can go along, take a few photos and write a case study on their experience with us. That gives us more of a personal feel to everybody that's visiting our website and our social media, and they begin to trust us more.
Lauren, let me then ask you a first question. Like, how do you convince your clients to share their picture and share their testimonial? Like, I'm not talking about the reviews through internet, because that's where people share it on their free will. But here, when you take a picture, how do you what's the argument that you use?
So it's more leaning towards the benefit for them. So the case studies that we go out and do, we'll ring the business and ask if it's okay for us to come out and talk to them. And then we will write a press release for them. And then that gets distributed to social media, their social media, and in the press itself, onto newspapers.
Yeah. So
like
it's like really helping clients to advertise their businesses.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a way for them to get media coverage without having to pay for it.
Great, good point.
So provide value to your customers through your posts. So I'll move on to this point a bit later on, because we can do this in blog posts. We've also got a page on our website that has Tony's top tips. Again, that went out on social media this morning, so I will pull that up shortly. And the more tips and hints you have available to your customers, the more knowledge they're going to gain, and again, the more trust you're going to gain from them. Direct questions to your customers. So you may notice, if you do use Twitter, that there is a poll option to ask questions to your customers or followers. So a bit like what's been done on this webinar, you can see the votes of how many people use Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can gauge which platform is best to move forward for your business. Again, that was one of the reasons we've stuck with LinkedIn and Twitter for the moment, because it seems to be quite an even split between the two in terms of our customer base and introducers. And the more you get engagement from them, your engagement will increase on your analytics for your social media. Call to action is quite a simple way to get traffic to your website. So a call to action is posting a link relative to the post that you're posting about, which takes that customer to a position on your website. So for example, if you want them to go to your apply now page, you'd write a post, and link into that post, you'd have your apply now link, and then that would take that customer straight to that link if they clicked it, and then you'd gain an inquiry through that. This also boosts engagement on your website, as well as creates more warm leads to your website as well.
Warm leads, meaning?
Warm leads are leads that are more likely to take action on your page. So someone might be scrolling through Google and click your page by accident. That's classed as a lead, but they weren't meant to be on that page, so they click straight off. Whereas if they've gone onto your website, spent time on your website, and possibly even applied, then that's classed as a warm lead.
Okay.
And yeah, there's just a quick example of how you can interpret them into your post. Click here to apply now, and then you'd have the web link at the end, and it would take them straight to the application page. And most importantly, post pictures when you can. So even if it's cartoon pictures, as you will see a lot of on our social media, pictures of your team, pictures of the customers that you've taken through case studies. Demonstrate the human element of your business where you can. images actually gain more engagement than just a normal post. And again, that's further on in this presentation today with some statistics on that. It just makes your business more personable and again builds trust with your clients.
So in terms of the pictures of the staff, that's sort of everyday life from the branch office or loan officers coming to the office, this kind of like everyday life in the office pictures to be posted in social media. Or
you can post pictures of, well, anyone in the office. We've got a few photos that we use that I've taken for bits and pieces that we've done. The most recent one was, I think, there was a children in need one last year that we used, but we also had professional photos done at one point because our team had changed quite a lot, so we had a new lot of photos taken, so we use those quite a lot as well. Just as many pictures of the team as you've got. We've got pictures from when we went away as a team to do activities, so whichever suits the post you can use.
Okay.
In terms of the use for LinkedIn, we use it mainly for business to business. So our introducer base and corporate clients are more on LinkedIn and active. So people like the banks and other MFIs are usually on LinkedIn. So this is how we communicate with those in terms of building professional relationships to people that may refer clients to us in the future. In terms of posting on LinkedIn, it says at least 1 to 2 times per day. Again, that depends on the day. I would recommend Tuesday to Thursday is the most popular for posting on LinkedIn, but I do post on every day just to cover all bases. But on a Monday and a Friday, usually only be 1 post a day, but always prioritize the case studies, any new press releases, and don't bombard people with normal generic posts, because on LinkedIn they don't want to know generic information. They want to know the good stories about your business. They don't need to know that you have unsecured loans up to £100,000, because that's not who you're talking to. So we post during business hours, 9 till 5, again, Monday to Friday. LinkedIn's slightly different. You can get away with posting at about 6 p.m. as well, because that's when people have just come home from work, they've sat down and they're just scrolling through their social media feed. You could probably get away with doing that a little bit later as well, but we found 6 o'clock is like the sweet spot for engagement. So lunchtime is another good time, because people sit at their desks and want to switch off from what they've been doing, so they'll scroll through LinkedIn or Twitter, any social media really, just to pass some time before they go back to work. And early morning, I'd say earliest would probably be 9 o'clock when people come into the office, because on a morning people's schedules can be a bit busy and they don't, on LinkedIn especially, don't always look at their social media at before 9 o'clock, unless it's 6 o'clock in the morning.
So how do you deal with in practical terms, how do you deal with scheduling posts for exactly those hours, especially the hours that are outside your working hours, right? How do you deal with this?
So I've got a couple of software examples further on. I'll touch on Twitter now, and then I'll show you the social media scheduling that we use.
All right. Let me just ask you one more question from Maria. related to do you simply ask for a written consent your customers to use their pictures and information in your social media?
Yeah, so everything that is distributed to the media in terms of case studies, there's already been consent from the customer to say that we can use their photo in terms of their press release that we're sending out for them, and then they're happy for us to post and use their photos for any other promotional materials afterwards.
Okay.
So as soon as they give us permission to have that photo, we can use that photo.
Okay, so it's simply a written consent at the beginning of the process.
So in terms of consent, we go through, basically the customer has to approve the press release before it goes out. So once the press release has been written, it'd be emailed back to the customer, and we can't do anything with that press release or the photos until it comes back and they say they're happy with all of the content and the photo and everything's true to what they said to us in the beginning.
Okay, okay, clear, thanks.
So for Twitter, again, business to business, because our banks and corporate clients do operate on Twitter, but we use it more for business to customer as well. So reaching out to those small businesses directly. Most of those businesses do use Twitter quite a lot, which I did a survey on about 3 months ago, at the end of last quarter. We post, you have to post at least 5 to 6 times per day on Twitter because of the refresh rate. So your Twitter feed never stays the same. If you refresh your feed, like after 10 seconds, something different will pop up every single time. You will never see the same post twice, hopefully, or luckily. But to keep up with this fast pace of posts, you have to post regularly on Twitter. Otherwise your posts will get lost and your customers won't see them. So it's recommended 5 to 6 times a day. Again, business hours, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. There's no particular day that's busy for Twitter. I'd say maybe midweek at most, but Fridays are quite quiet. So if you are struggling for content, then maybe Friday would be the best day to post less content than Monday to Thursday. And you can consider evenings and weekends again for business to customer, because again, people might work through the weekend as your customers, so seeing you on their Twitter feed. But in terms of us, we currently stick to Monday to Friday, and we can post until, we've used posts up until 9 PM in the week, Monday to Friday for Twitter. I will go on to why in a moment. So social media scheduling. So we've previously used Hootsuite, which I don't know if many of you are familiar with. That seems to be the most common social media scheduling tool. And you can also use Loomly, which is similar to Hootsuite. I just find it a lot more user-friendly than Hootsuite was. So it helps you prepare social media posts in advance to all of your social media platforms. You can post to employee profiles, especially for LinkedIn, and your company profiles. So for LinkedIn, I have everybody in the organization has logged in to their LinkedIn via this social media platform scheduling tool, and then I can post relevant information to that person. So we have one of our business development managers are in Stafford. We had an event on in Stafford, so I'd post it to his LinkedIn profile, so his contacts would know, and so on and so forth for everybody. Any good press releases that come through, ideal to post to everybody's profile because it gives more awareness than just the followers on your company page. And it definitely saves a lot of time, I can tell you that for sure. I will show you briefly the so this is Loomly. As I said, I don't use Hootsuite anymore.
Lauren, I think we can't see it. If you can use a share option.
Can you see it now?
No. You need to use the share option in the that is among other tools.
Can you see it now?
Right, yes, we can see it now. Yeah.
So this is Loomly. So as you can see, this is March. So all of these here are posts that have already gone out. And if we scroll down, as you can see, there's a lot of posts in terms of Twitter. So you can see the little icons here. We have more going out on Twitter each day than we do LinkedIn. And for this here, so this is today. So this is what we've got going out today. And then that's tomorrow and so on and so forth. And I think we've got everything up until the 27th of March scheduled so far. So to do this, it's pretty simple. You just click new post. And then it'll take you through the process of which social media profiles you want to post to. Then you type in your content, schedule it to go out, and it's done. You don't have to think about it.
Lauren, how much time do you spend per week on generating the content for social media?
I'd probably say to start with, because there's a lot of new content that needed to be generated, it would take about maybe half of my week. So say I start at 9, it'd probably be 9 till 12. I'd focus on social media, and then I'd use 12 till 5 to do the rest of the stuff that I was doing. Now that we've got quite a lot of posts that are similar, it's easier because the content's already there to be used for the generic posts that go out. So apply now and about the business. So don't be afraid to reuse content that you've already used, because you never know, someone new might pick it up without you realizing. So I'd probably say I spend about 2 hours a day on it at the moment. Oh no. And sorry, I just need to plug my laptop in. And it's just a case of monitoring it. And once you've got the content up and running, then you're away you go.
Okay, thanks. Feel to everybody who participates in this webinar, really feel free to ask your questions as we go. If you want to ask questions about the platform, those 2 platforms used by Lauren, or any other, just whatever is said, feel free to type in your questions in the chat box or unmute yourself. Lauren, back to you.
So I'll move on to social media advertising. It's very similar content to social media itself. It just gains more awareness of that content. So there are advertising options linked to each social media account. So you'll find in the options part of your social media account, you'll have, for example, Twitter ads. So Twitter ads will take you to a separate platform where you'll be able to choose your campaign objective. Now, they post these quite clearly. It's quite clear to find out which one you want to use. We genuinely use engagement as our campaign objective because it's just what suits us. But there is brand awareness and website visits and stuff like that as well.
And how what does it influence choosing the right campaign objective? I mean, what does it impact depending on which objective you choose?
So in terms of the objective, it's more how they're going to charge you for it. So if you choose your objective as engagement, you will pay per engagement action on that advert. I've used website visits before, which is a good one for any events that you've got because you can track how many people click on that link. Again, you'd pay for that, but not any likes or anything. So sometimes it's a bit of, do you want engagement or website visits? And also you have to watch the costs and see which works out more cost effective for what you're gaining. So you can set your budget to whatever you like. Twitter has no limit in terms of minimum, but we find £20 per Twitter campaign works well for us. We run the campaigns over 2 weeks at a time, and that £20 gets used within the 2 weeks intermittently to when Twitter feels like we get the most engagement from it. Again, the same with LinkedIn. So we use £40 per LinkedIn campaign because the minimum for the budget daily for LinkedIn is £8. So we have to have an increased budget over the 2 week period because that budget would only last 5 days otherwise. Again, you can monitor them both on your social media page. It will just take you to your advertisement analytics and show you how your posts are performing. In terms of posts themselves, good news stories, new videos, such as a recommend a friend scheme that we've done recently. I will show you that video shortly. It's quite easy to use. You can use content that you've posted previously, any events that you've got going on that you need more awareness of for people to book on, do them through ads because we've found that we get a few more attendees come through if we advertise them on social media as well. And then you post it. So it's a straightforward process. It takes you through it step by step as you go through. So there's no complicated algorithms that you have to use. It's just a case of reading it and it'll tell you where to go. So our advertising results, I've calculated this as of the end of February when I was writing this presentation. So we had 33 engagements on Twitter out of, I want to say maybe 10 advertisements, and we had 6,652 views of those posts on average.
So once again, there were 10 posts on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then out of those from those 10 posts, you got those 33 engagements and almost 7,000 views.
So we had from our Twitter adverts, I added them all up and averaged them out, and it was 33 engagements per advert and over 7,000 views
Per advert.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. So it's 10 times in total. 10 times more when you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same for LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there was a few less adverts gone out, but the stats are still impressive in terms of engagement and views. So it shows that adverts do work. You just have to persevere with them, and once you get the right algorithm for you in terms of the objective, then all will go into place. In terms of videos, this is a recent thing that we've started doing now. I'm on board, so you can communicate important messages with them, and it's minimum effort for your user to sit and look at them and watch them than it is to read blocks of text. Videos gain more engagement, so a post with images or video can receive up to 89% more likes, and we've had 500 video views per month on each social platform since September last year. Again, that was averaged out on how many videos we've done, added up all of the video views and then divided them. Creating a video is very easy. You don't need specialist software, specialist cameras to do it. You can use your mobile phone. It's pretty straightforward. Mobile phones these days have got enough camera quality on them to create technically sound videos. Choose content relevant to your audience. I will show you shortly a couple of videos that we've done recently, which will put into perspective the relevant content that we choose. Again, choose the team members that are relevant to the topic. So if I was doing one on marketing, then it'd be me. If I was doing one about our loans process, it could be our sanctioner, or it could be one of our business development managers. And we usually have a 2-week turnaround time from filming to the final product. So I usually aim to do a video once a month. So that gives me 2 weeks to prepare the script, get the people together, and then another 2 weeks from filming to creating the video, making sure everything is good to go. And
so you are also sort of writing up the scenario of the video, right? So to help your staff, help your colleagues talk to the point.
Yeah. So we write the script. It's up to them how they interpret the script. But if we give them a baseline, and then they can talk as if they were talking to a customer in terms of their understanding of the topic, it just makes it easier for everybody. Instead of trying to think on the spot, you've got pointers there to read out if you're stuck. And you can host them on YouTube via your website, which is what we do. And we also use subtitles, which is really important at the moment. So we use rev.com, and that's $1 per minute of video, and it will write the subtitles for you in any language that you choose. So before I go on to blog, I'm going to share our video with you. So we have a couple here. I'll show you 2 versions. So we've got a cartoon version, and we've also got a human version. So this was one of the first ones I did, and this is for our Recommend a Friend scheme. Can you all see the
Recommend a Friend to BCRS business loans?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Securing funding can be a hurdle for many business owners. We don't need to tell you that. But
if you could make it slightly louder, that would help.
Now is the perfect time to recommend a friend. And if your friend goes on to draw down a loan from BCRS, you will receive a £100 voucher as a little thanks from us. Get started in 3 simple steps. 1. Go to bcrs.org.uk and visit the Recommend a Friend page. 2. Read the Recommend a friend terms and conditions. We know it's boring, but it's important. 3. Complete the form to send an online invitation to your friends, for which you'll need your friend's name, business name, and business email address. And that's it. You can leave the rest to us. So visit our website today and submit your recommendation. BCRS Business Loans. We believe in you.
So that was one done by our marketing officer. I put it together, but he was the voice behind the screen. And so that one was, most of that content was actually taken from our corporate video. So we had this professionally created to start with before I joined. And then I used this as inspiration to carry on with the rest. So you will see bits of the corporate video in all of these. Does anybody have a preference of which video they'd like to watch to see the human element, or do you want me to pick one at random?
Just pick one around.
Pick one at random. We will go for the personal.
Yeah, we need the voice louder, please. Lauren, we can't hear it well. Lauren, can you hear me? Okay, sounds like we have now technical issues. Lauren, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes, can you hear me, Lauren?
yeah.
Okay, we lost your video and we lost your presentation, so I think you need to share it again with us.
The video was near the end anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right, but I think it's simply clear that this human type of video, that simply you use simply a mobile phone and script plus a kind of scenario or how to behave, right? So you use a few different scenes that are shot in the office. That's sounds like quite simple once you have a software to put this scenes together, right?
Yeah.
So basic software to make videos probably is what you need.
It doesn't have to be an expensive software. I'll email you the link of the software we use. But any video software that you find user-friendly, you can use and create videos like that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
In terms of blog posts, so they definitely drive traffic to your web page. We have around 200 blog page visits each month, and this is based on 4 blogs a month since August 2019. So again, pretty much when I started. Write as if you're talking to your audience. So use conversational language and choose a topic that will engage your audience. Anything to do with SMEs, trends and tips, I find work really well and gain the most views and time spent on the page. and yet it's 4 posts per month, but it averages out at 1 post per week.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, how do you source the content for? How do you source ideas for the content? Because you need to write a blog, and well, you are a marketing person, not an entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah.
Meaning, like when you are not a practitioner, your knowledge is limited. So how do you source the content?
Various ways. Most recent news is a good one. I've tried to stay away from the coronavirus news, so it's a bit difficult at the minute, but there was one that SMEs were really optimistic for the financial year ahead. So a post went out about that. Anything I think that customers need more information on. So there was one that went out last week about interest rates, and the difference between fixed and variable interest rates. We've got one for Tony's top tips. Anything that's trending at the time, really, I try and put something together to make it relevant to us and relate it to BCRS and how we can help customers.
But is it rather reposting other sources, or you prepare the content yourself based on what you read? Like, how does it
I create the content myself based on what I've read in the news or on other pages. Our most recent one going out tomorrow is based on BCRS themselves, our top 4 uses for a business loan. So again, if I can relate it to the business in any way, shape or form, I will do. But I especially like to concentrate on anything I can find about SMEs, because I did a recent, the most popular post was SMEs and their contribution to the UK economy. That gained a lot more traction than we expected. So we kind of stick to the SME realm of blog posts.
Okay.
I have got an example of the blog posts. Again, they're on our website. We post them to our website every week. The time of day I usually post them is a Wednesday at midday. So it will be uploaded to the website on the morning, and then it will go out on social media by 12 p.m.
Okay. Meantime, let me just say that we are getting to the end of the webinar. We are slowly running out of time. So if you get simply ready with asking your questions, if you have any specific questions, get ready to ask them or type them into the chat box. So that's your blog, right?
Yeah, so these 2 are the most recent, apart from the one that went out last week about interest rates. These 2 here, so we focused on SMEs here, and funnily enough, I did one about social media. So feel free to go over and read about social media as well. On our website, there's quite a few blog posts for social media if anyone wants any more information. And again, we just use WordPress to process the blogs. There's no fancy software that we use. I create the artwork myself. And as you can see, it's more of a conversational content piece rather than strict corporate language.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, these are all approved by the marketing director before they go out, just to make sure that everything's to brand and guidelines. So as long as you stick to your brand and your guidelines, then all is good.
All right. So shall we open now for questions?
Yep.
Okay, so right. Thank you, Lauren, so much. So let me check what are the questions right now, as we are about to finish. So do you have any specific questions related to practices of BCRS, or do you want to share your experience, how you deal with your social media? What do you do differently than at BCRS? Feel free to unmute yourself or ask questions. You can use the chat box also for typing in your question. Okay, Lauren, like one more question from my side. So can you say how did you decide between using Twitter and LinkedIn rather than Facebook? I mean, I understand that what you said, that your clients are mostly using Twitter and LinkedIn, but how did you how did you know this? How did you make the decision to focus on those two platforms?
So last quarter, I released a SurveyMonkey survey to our customers, and one of those questions were, what social media platforms do you use in your business? And the two most popular were Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay, so that was simply surveying the clients.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from previous experience in terms of social media itself, more corporate clients are going to be using LinkedIn for professional networks. So that's how we can gain our professional network through there. But again, Twitter does a bit of both. So most of our customers mainly operate on Twitter, but we can follow them on LinkedIn too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically reaching them at different angles to get them to engage with us as much as possible.
Okay. Okay, and one more question that was on my mind regarding the staff as a channel of sharing your social media news. So again, like, are there no? I mean, do your colleagues, they do not object by using the private profiles to share the news?
So on LinkedIn, we each have a BCRS profile. So we use it mainly for work. So in terms of
so your staff actually, they don't have the private profiles. These are the sort of
it is part of their private profiles, but it's displayed on their profile that they are from BCRS.
Right. Okay.
So I get them to log in to their LinkedIn via Loomly that you saw earlier, and then I post company information to their profiles. Obviously, they've given me permission by putting in their password and email through Loomly, and they obviously know that I'm going to post for them.
Okay. Okay. Right. I assume that with loan officers in many MFIs, as they are interested to share.
That's usually our main point of call in terms of sharing information.
Mm-hmm.
The loan officers, for any press releases, are great for engagement. But again, we do have all of us in marketing, we're on there. Anyone with a good connection base on LinkedIn, we have connected.
Right. Okay. What are the questions from our audience? So before we really close up the webinar, what are your questions? What is it you want to ask? Feel free to unmute yourself. Okay. Right. Lauren, sounds that there are no more questions. It looks like your presentation was practical enough that nothing needs clarification. So thank you so much for sharing your very practical experience and walking us through the details and practicalities. So thank you once again very much. Thank you all for participating and staying with us. Those of you who would like to get certification through our bootcamp, you can fill in the test that is aligned with this webinar. We will also send out the information through email to everyone who registered for the webinar, and we invite you to register already for the upcoming webinars, which will continue the topic of clients' behavior online, as well as some technological issues related to data sourcing from other databases than your own. So that's, please check our website to get more information about the upcoming webinars. With this, thank you all for participation. Stay healthy and safe, and we see each other in 1 week in the next webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, Lauren.